Talking about fake news.
Those fake news stories.
Fake political news. The impact of fake news.
Facebook wants to put fake news out of business with your help. Today, after months of public pressure, the social media giant announcing new preliminary measures to weed out stories that are intentionally false and spread for financial gain.
Developing tonight, new backlash over an announcement from Facebook about cracking down on fake news. The website claims more than 1.7 billion users worldwide listen to it, and it took a lot of heat in recent months over an explosion of bogus stories, mostly political, that got shopped around as, quote, news. Now the social media giant says it has a plan to fix the problem, but that has some folks worried about exactly who is working in the ranks of the truth police.
The company claims it needs to weed out the worst of the worst, and here's how. Users will flag a story they think is false. As more complain, the story gets flagged and sent to a third-party fact checker like PolitiFact, FactCheck, AP, Snopes. And if that is found in doubt, that story is then labeled disputed on the news feed, and a link will explain why. Finally, Facebook itself says it will screen out the sensational headline-grabbing clickbait we all love, used a pizza parlor for a child sex ring, or that protesters got $3 grand to disrupt a Trump rally. The concern is twofold now: the politics of Facebook and the fact checkers who in the past have demonstrated a liberal bias. Stories that they labeled false were not, and PolitiFact says it will also focus on misleading stories. Well, anyone in our business, Shannon, knows that is a huge gray area. You can always find an expert with a title and an agenda.
The New York Times has just called me a fake news, hyper-partisan conspiracy theorist. This from a self-proclaimed news outlet which lost $14 million during the first quarter of 2016. This from a self-proclaimed news outlet whose publisher said that they promised to rededicate themselves to reporting honestly after the election fiasco, where every liberal media outlet got just about everything wrong.
The Pizzagate conspiracy theory was in fact true. This is what Michael Flynn Jr. tweeted last night. Until Pizzagate is proven false, it'll remain a story. The left seems to forget Podesta emails and the many coincidences tied to it. Now, the younger Flynn is more than just his father's son. He served as his father's chief of staff and his top aide. Joining me now, Brian Stelter, CNN senior media correspondent and host of CNN's Reliable Sources. Brian, you've been talking a lot about fake news.
Let me just mention briefly one threat in particular that should concern all Americans, Democrats, Republicans, and independents alike, especially those who serve in our Congress. The epidemic of malicious fake news and false propaganda that flooded social media over the past year. It's now clear that so-called fake news can have real-world consequences.
What do you make of this suggestion we just heard from Flynn's son that until something is proven false, we should assume it's true?
Yeah, he's suggesting that if I can't guarantee that every light in the sky is not a UFO, then all the lights in the sky must be UFOs. It's a very strange path to go down, but this entire conspiracy theory is ludicrously strange.
There's a crusade against fake news.
Fake news has become increasingly, maddeningly, disturbingly popular, especially on Facebook.
The Pope endorsing Trump? Fake. Megyn Kelly fired for backing Hillary Clinton? Fake. Clinton linked to crimes committed by Anthony Weiner? Also fake. Some of these pro-Trump websites in particular actually come from kids, from teenagers living in Macedonia.
It's time for these isolated know-it-alls in the Silicon Valley at Google and Facebook to get this stuff together on things like this.
They have to have some sort of
I mean, First Amendment, we all live within the First Amendment.
New world.
We don't want to tamper with the First Amendment, but there's something askew here that has to be looked at.
Media in our country is no longer involved in journalism. They're a political